So what I thought I'd do is walk everybody through what a typical consumer experience is like with regard to a company like this called Credit Cleaned Up. Does anybody know whose company that is?
Yes.
If they don't, they'll find out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let them go to creditcleanedup.com.
So cleanedup.com is a company involved in credit restoration. Every customer that is signed up through the process receives a portal. Now this is all built on the platform that we've developed. So this is features and functionality that's typically reserved for a Fortune 500 company, where each and every client has their own unique portal where they can track and monitor the results moving forward. So what I'll do is I'll walk you through an example here of what a typical client experience is and what their portals are like and how the process works. Then I'll step you through a lead capture page and how typically mortgage brokers would refer their business. And then I'll log into a mortgage broker portal where we can track and monitor the leads and the clients and there as well.
So the client can actually see everything that's going on with their credit and what's happening. They can keep an eye on it.
Completely transparent, in the loop.
Wonderful.
Yeah, 100% of the time, in tandem with the mortgage broker themselves, and I'll show you how we do that.
Okay.
So every client that's enrolled gets their own unique portal. They can log in, and so this example here is John Coop Public, and the first thing you see when you log in is the results so far across each of the three bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, as well as a percentage across all three. As I scroll down the page, it dictates, what the current status is, what we're waiting on, and who they were referred by. We found it really interesting that referral partners, mortgage brokers specifically, would refer a client over to a company, but not know if they'd ever come back. And so one way that the software helps to manage that is the ability to tie the two together. So the referral partners, mortgage companies included, have the ability to upload a logo in their back office where it gets displayed in the client side of the software. So here, Timothy, Home Builder Johnson has a bio and a logo, and every time this client logs in, they're reminded why they're in the service. When I step through the My Account tab, this is typically where to send the updated correspondence throughout the process, keeping track of making sure the current name and address and everything is on file is correct. The My Status page is very interesting. The software that we provide business owners documents everything. So every interaction with a client is documented in the system. It's also dumped into the client portal, put into the referral partner portal, and goes out as a text message and an email update to the consumer. So when Mrs. Johnson calls in and says, hey, I need to change my address, it's notated, and everybody's kept aware. Full transparency. We delineate, the pink sections and the gray sections here from actual customer service and actual processing of the disputes on behalf of the consumer, so the consumer can easily tell, who's doing what. Every step of the process is documented and tracked all along the way, and displayed in the portals for them to see. On the My Results page is where we can see the individual disputes and the status of those across each of the three bureaus independently. So you'll notice that we have an account name, account number, what the description is, and whether it's been fixed, deleted, or currently in dispute. It's really
so Joe, every from the credit file that the customer provides, the consumer provides, because that's how the service actually gets started, is that they need to run all the three bureaus.
Yes.
And so that actually gets entered into the software, and then it's tracked throughout its life, correct?
Correct. Each round of disputes, everything that's changed or deleted or what have you is notated here in real time, and tracked across the life cycle of the entire customer. The My Disputes page is a place where the consumer can actually, chime in and say, hey, this was not mine, or this was my wife's or husband's, and I never owned that vehicle, or whatever they have. This information is pulled into the correspondence that drafted on their behalf. The My Help Desk is another feature and functionality of a Fortune 500 company. It's a help desk. Small business owners often, get tied up on the phone a lot. The help desk feature that allows them to communicate with their customers in such a way where they can do many things at the same time. People use the help desk all the time. They want updated information. They create tickets. They ask questions. They can send updated billing information. And so a ticket is created, and the business owner in his back office answers the ticket, and the consumer is notified immediately through email. Along the right, we have different pages, including FAQs.
Or text, email, text.
Email or text, correct.
You know how much people love text, but we want to make sure that you don't look at your text while you're driving, right?
No, it's funny because even as a CEO, I will notice a text before a phone call or an email. We've got so many phone lines here and different emails that if someone wants to get a hold of me, a text, it sounds unorthodox, but I respond to text. And so we implemented this feature because people do. It's just a natural human behavior.
Text is text now. Everybody does text. I said I vowed I would never do texting. Well, I now do texting. So
yeah, I mean everybody does. And so what better way to communicate with your customer base than through an email and a text? That goes out every time a client note is added to their account. The portals are also designed. It
actually serves what I call the immediate gratification idea that people have. That everybody wants everything immediately.
We do. We live in a very fast MTV society, right? McDonald's is around the corner, and it's fast and it's quick, and you get in and get out. People want to know that you're working on their behalf. They want to know that you're doing something, and they want to know when they want to know it. And so by creating a portal that allows them to log in at 2 in the morning or whenever they want, and notifying them the moment that you've done something instantly through text and email, it's a really cool feature, and all that's documented and kept track in the portals themselves. It's a really interesting part of our software that rivals that of Fortune 500 companies. Go ahead.
I think it's amazing how the actual general public can actually go to their site and see it, as you said, 2 o'clock in the morning. If they want to have a look at it, they want to check everything out. Because I think this is what people are wanting, the trust. And when they see what's going on and they see the messages, that's giving the trust of what the company is and who the company is, and they can actually see it in black and white. Because normally it's not like that. Normally it's like you've got to wait for them to do this and wait for them to do that. This way it's not like that. So I think this is very encouraging.
No, it is, and when you think about it in a bigger sense, how many other businesses, would you say the same thing about? So if you're represented by if you're represented by a lawyer, I would want to know what's going on with things, and I would love to not have to call them, but just log in and see.
To look at my file.
Well, every time you call your lawyer, it costs you money anyway. Yeah, that's like, they're not going to charge you for 5 minutes. They're going to charge you for half an hour, even if it's only a 5-minute call.
So why not have a portal where they can log in and view their information, the case history or what have you? Pool builders or home builders, it's the same sort of thing. I want to know the progress of things. I just want to know things at times without having to call somebody and wait in the phone queue and get a call back and so on and so forth. So we have implemented these features for other industries as well. But this is really critical. I mean, you hit on a great point, Ninan, which is people want to know things when they want to know them, and then they want to know them whenever they feel like it.
It's not your time. They don't want to know it on your time. They want to know it on their time.
Right.
Their time is more important, and then it could be any time of the day or night, whatever. Right. And their time is very important, and maybe they're just relaxed and they can really go through it, or if they don't understand it, they can do it privately.
Right, and with smartphones these days and tablets, people want to access things on the go or wherever they want, and we accommodate that sort of lifestyle. We do have frequently asked questions in the back office because I do believe it's important to educate the consumer about the process that they're going through, and so a lot of the questions back in the portals are directly related to the things that are experiencing now. For instance, are negative items required to remain for 7 years? That's the biggest, most often misunderstood fallacy that I think we come across daily. It's an interesting thing. The whole credit bureau system is a voluntary system. It's not mandated by any law that says you have to report something or not. What the Fair Credit Reporting Act says is that if there is a negative item on anybody's report, it cannot remain there more than 7 years. It does not say that it has to be there for 7 years. It doesn't have to be there in the first place.
It says that it will come off. after 7 years.
Well,
Yeah.
but that
you
doesn't
will,
though.
because it's mandatory, but it comes
but
before that.
The law says that it will come off after 7 years. Same thing with bankruptcy, will come off after 10. But I worked with clients that had a bankruptcy, and after 12 years, it was still there because they didn't take it off because the software doesn't work.
Right. Well, but they didn't take it off because it's in their best interest to leave it on, and that's what I believe. Right? And so, yeah, because it's on there. So the law says that you shouldn't be punished for something at 28 when you did something at 20. Who's to say? There is no credit bureau police.
But now people can actually do it themselves. Now people realize that they can actually check it themselves and have a company do it for them, because now they can understand what they do have on there, whereas before they didn't have that.
Right. And so exposing the myths and the hypocrisy of the bureaus is really key, because there's a lot of propaganda, because they are such large companies and they misinform people on a routine basis. And once you really understand how they operate, you really sort of get a bad taste in your mouth, because they are so big and so protected of the revenues that they make.
They misinform, Joe, in a certain way, which is they create confusion, and they create manipulation, and they create fear, and they create force. And the way they do it is, even when you look at some documentation that comes from them, the wording and the way they explain things are so complicated that the layman cannot understand it.
It's too long. It's usually pages and pages and pages, and nobody wants to read all that, so they don't.
Right. No, it's very disappointing. The credit bureaus themselves, they really do not advocate on behalf of the consumer. They are not your friend. And so, a good FAQ page helps expose some of the myths, and such as, are things supposed to be there for 7 years? And also other questions like, are the credit bureaus run by the U.S. government? We've had questions like this from very, very intelligent people throughout the country. Think that the three bureaus are tied to the government.
Somehow,
Yeah, and it's not the case. It's not the case. So this is an important part of the process, to educate the consumer as to their God-given American right to dispute things under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and not let them be misled by inaccurate information and sort of propaganda that the bureaus put out there. There's other things back here which, because the service works and it works very well.
So Joe, hang on for a second. I just want to make sure we cover something very, very important, and I don't want to end the show without it. So something really important is getting results for the consumers and for the mortgage brokers. And what do we mean by getting results? What we mean by that is that working on somebody's file, as it's being worked on, things are going to be changing. Things are going to be dropping off because they are inaccurate.
Correct.
And what's going to happen is, as these things are dropping off, the credit score will start coming up. And we make no guarantees what will come off and what will not, because we have, me, you, or Nina, or anybody in this business, we don't have control over what's going to come off and what's not.
Correct. Yeah. Well, all we're doing is advocating on behalf of the consumer,
Correct.
much like a lawyer does.
Correct.
But the really interesting thing about this platform is it ties the referral partner, the mortgage broker, to the process. They have their own portal where they can log in and track the same results of their customers as the customers themselves. They can see this very information right here on their side in their own portal, and know right when they need to call Mrs. Smith back to go, okay, let's pick up that loan now. I see that this certain item fell off that we were hoping for, and he can be proactive. He's tied into the loop. He sees the communication between the business owner and the consumer, and he sees the results in his own portal. It's really amazing. And
that is amazing, because this now helps the mortgage broker to make business as well, because when he sees things drop off, he's got more of a chance of doing whatever he's doing, selling cars or real estate or whatever he's up to. Well, so that makes it easier for him.
It increases his loan volume, but again, it goes back to what I said before. Every successful business solves a problem and fulfills a need. The problem for the mortgage broker is they've got a client that's been turned down. They're going to stick them in a file, call them back later 6 months, and nothing's going to change. The need for the consumer is to get into that house. So this sort of service solves the problem and fulfills the need. It gives the mortgage broker an opportunity to turn that client around, let somebody else work on them for 30, 60, 90 days or whatever, which will then, hopefully generate a higher result where he can proceed with the loan. And we see this happen day in and day out throughout the country.
And then
So-
you've got the consumer getting what they want,
Right.
which they could never have got before. So it's all working hand in hand.
Yeah, the need is fulfilled, and we receive compliments from consumers every day throughout the country, which is things like, I can't believe it. 6 months ago we couldn't even think about buying a home, and now we just closed one.
Yeah,
it's life changing.
I've
Yes,
seen I've seen consumers, actual clients that, their scores are in the 500s when we got the initial report, and after 3, 4, 5 months, those scores are in the middle and high 600s, which qualifies them for an FHA loan.
Yeah, and that's routine. That's normal throughout the process, and without promising anybody any results, everybody's situation is different.
Correct.
And everybody's involvement is different, but we routinely see those kind of results every day throughout the country.